Lebanon and Israel are engaged in direct diplomatic talks, a crucial effort brokered by the United States, signaling a potential, albeit fragile, opening in the long-stalled regional conflict. These high-level discussions are not merely procedural, they represent an attempt to navigate the complex web of historical grievances and contemporary security concerns that have defined the relationship between these two nations for decades. The involvement of Washington underscores the deep entanglement of regional stability with broader international interests, placing the fate of the Levant squarely within the purview of global diplomacy. Analysts suggest that the success of these talks hinges on overcoming entrenched positions on core security issues, including border demarcation, the status of disputed territories, and the management of non-state actors operating across the region. The atmosphere surrounding these meetings is taut, reflecting the inherent risks involved in attempting to bridge deep-seated ideological and political divides. Furthermore, the implications extend beyond immediate ceasefires. These negotiations touch upon the future architecture of regional security alliances and the potential for sustainable, long-term peace. The stakes are incredibly high, as any breakthrough could reverberate across the Middle East, affecting refugee flows, energy security, and the balance of power in the entire region. The sustained effort by external powers to facilitate these dialogues highlights the persistent global interest in managing the volatile dynamics of the Middle East, even amidst ongoing internal instability. Moving on to the volatile dynamics of the Iranian interior, the shift in power is being driven by a potent combination of popular uprising and the organized strength of resistance units. The narrative emerging from the Iranian landscape indicates that the traditional structures of authority are being fundamentally challenged by grassroots mobilization, demonstrating a profound rejection of the current regime's policies. The resistance movement, fueled by widespread discontent, is proving to be the critical engine for change within Iran. These popular uprisings are not isolated events, they represent a deep-seated societal demand for political reform and an end to systemic oppression. The resistance units, operating across various regions, are demonstrating remarkable resilience and strategic acumen, effectively leveraging popular anger to exert pressure on the central government. Their actions demonstrate that the shift in power is not merely a top-down political maneuver but a bottom-up revolution driven by the will of the people. This dynamic interaction between mass mobilization and organized resistance is reshaping the political landscape, forcing the established powers to confront the reality of a populace demanding fundamental change. The success of these resistance forces in sustaining momentum is directly correlated with the level of popular engagement, suggesting that the future trajectory of Iran will be determined by the sustained strength of this popular and militant opposition. Turning briefly to regional cultural and economic news, there is a notable pause in artistic production across the Middle East. Kuwait has announced a temporary halt to the filming of dramatic works, indicating a temporary recalibration of creative and production schedules within the country. This decision, while seemingly administrative, reflects broader economic considerations and perhaps a need to reassess priorities in the current climate. Such pauses in large-scale creative endeavors often signal a response to shifting financial realities or external pressures impacting the arts sector. The implications for the regional creative economy are significant, as the suspension of these projects affects not only the immediate employment of artists and crew but also the broader cultural exchange that these productions facilitate. This temporary suspension serves as a reminder that even cultural output is subject to the economic and political currents that sweep across the Gulf region, underscoring the interconnectedness of artistic endeavors with geopolitical stability. We now pivot to the financial markets, where volatility continues to define the mood, particularly in the UK. The red lights are flashing again for the Lloyd share price, signaling renewed caution among investors regarding the broader economic outlook. This market signal reflects deep uncertainty surrounding global inflation rates, the persistent threat of geopolitical instability, and the uncertainty surrounding central bank policies. Investors are grappling with the risk of stagflation, where economic growth stagnates while inflation remains stubbornly high, creating a difficult environment for risk-taking. The flashing red lights are a direct response to the perceived fragility of current economic growth models and the potential for sudden, adverse shifts in global commodity prices or trade relations. Analysts are warning that any unexpected escalation in geopolitical tensions could trigger a sharp sell-off, as investors prioritize safety over speculative gains in an uncertain environment. The market is demanding transparency and stability, and the current indicators suggest that the risk premium remains elevated, keeping investor sentiment firmly cautious as they await clearer economic signals from major global players. In a story of international diplomacy and security, the journey of the Pope to Algeria has been severely marred by a series of suicide attacks, highlighting the extreme security challenges faced by diplomatic missions in volatile regions. The Pope's travels, intended to foster dialogue and goodwill, were tragically interrupted by acts of violence, underscoring the pervasive insecurity that plagues diplomatic travel in certain parts of the world. This incident serves as a stark reminder that even the highest levels of international diplomacy are vulnerable to extremist violence. The attacks underscore the complex security environment in North Africa and the necessity for heightened security protocols for all international visitors. Such events inject a layer of profound anxiety into diplomatic relations, forcing governments to grapple with the security of their representatives and the safety of international cooperation efforts. The incident calls for a serious reassessment of security measures and the commitment to protecting diplomatic personnel, especially those engaged in sensitive diplomatic missions across challenging terrains. Shifting focus to the fight against transnational crime, it is imperative to recognize that combating corruption is not merely an internal governmental issue but is absolutely essential to effectively fighting transnational criminal organizations. These criminal networks operate across borders, exploiting weak governance structures and financial loopholes to amass immense wealth and exert political influence globally. When corruption is allowed to flourish within national systems, it provides the very infrastructure through which these transnational groups operate, facilitating illicit trade, money laundering, and the financing of illegal activities. Therefore, robust anti-corruption measures must be prioritized as a foundational strategy in disrupting these criminal enterprises. International cooperation, enhanced financial oversight, and the strengthening of judicial systems are the necessary tools to dismantle these networks. Without a concerted, uncompromising effort to eradicate corruption at every level of governance, the fight against organized crime will remain an uphill battle, allowing these criminal entities to continue their operations with impunity across international borders. The media itself is increasingly recognized as a potent weapon of war, a tool that shapes public perception, manipulates narratives, and escalates conflicts far beyond the physical battlefield. The language disseminated through various media channels is not neutral, it is strategically deployed to sow division, inflame ethnic tensions, and justify military actions. The way information is framed, emphasized, or deliberately omitted determines which realities are accepted by the public and which narratives gain traction in international discourse. This weaponization of media allows actors to engage in psychological warfare, eroding trust in institutions and creating polarized environments. Understanding how media functions as a tool of conflict is crucial for any attempt to de-escalate tensions, as controlling the narrative is often as important as controlling the territory itself. The responsibility of global media entities is therefore immense, demanding a commitment to truth and accountability rather than the propagation of divisive propaganda. In the realm of technology and business regulation, the potential for disruptive innovation is being tested against established regulatory frameworks. The question of whether a major entity like Intertek can successfully break up or restructure its operations and pass the rigorous test set by the city market is a critical inflection point for the future of corporate governance. This scenario touches upon the delicate balance between market efficiency, regulatory oversight, and the ability of large corporations to innovate effectively within established structures. If the proposed breakup is to be successful, it must navigate complex legal, financial, and regulatory hurdles that test the limits of current market mechanisms. The outcome will set a precedent for how large, complex organizations are managed and regulated in the digital age, determining whether the pursuit of market freedom can coexist with necessary oversight. The scrutiny placed on such corporate restructuring reflects the growing demand for transparent and accountable market practices in an increasingly complex global economy. Turning to the business landscape in Africa, there is a focus on recognizing and rewarding successful enterprise. The Ghana Business League Awards for 2026 are set to take place on June 19th, marking a significant event for the continent's business community. These awards serve as a platform to highlight the achievements, innovations, and economic contributions of businesses across Ghana and the wider region. The event underscores the growing importance of entrepreneurship and successful business practices as drivers of economic development in Africa. By celebrating these achievements, the awards aim to foster a competitive environment that encourages further investment, innovation, and sustainable economic growth. The recognition provided by the Ghana Business League signals a commitment to recognizing the tangible economic impact that successful enterprises have on national development and regional integration. This focus on celebrating business success is vital for unlocking the full potential of the African continent's vast and growing entrepreneurial spirit. Finally, we look at the ongoing geopolitical dialogue concerning Iran and the United States. Reports indicate that President Trump has suggested that talks between Iran and Pakistan could resume over the next 2 days. This development suggests a potential, albeit highly conditional, opening in high-level diplomatic channels between these two nations, potentially leveraging Pakistan's strategic position in the region. Such a potential resumption of dialogue, if realized, would represent a significant shift in the regional dynamic, offering a potential pathway for de-escalation or at least a pause in the current tensions. The involvement of Pakistan introduces a new variable into the equation, potentially altering the strategic calculus for both Iran and the United States. The success of these potential talks will depend on the willingness of all parties to engage in frank and substantive discussions, moving beyond rhetoric to address the core security and economic concerns that underpin the current friction in the region. The next 48 hours will be critical in determining whether this potential diplomatic window can be utilized to achieve a more stable and less volatile environment for the entire region.